think it's safe to say that Chapter 5 is off to a rocky start. It's hard to believe we're already halfway through the chapter, and yet the game is still full of problems that players desperately want fixed. However, it seems that most players are still holding out hope that Chapter 5 will turn around for the better, and that's why Season 3 has to be a success. I don't think I, or any other frustrated Fortnite player, can deal with another season full of awful gameplay mechanics and terrible balancing. If Season 3 is not a massive hit, I can't see Fortnite staying relevant for much longer. And so here's my entire wish list for Chapter 5 Season 3, although more realistically I could call it everything that needs to change in Season 3 for me to not quit the game. To start things off, I don't know about you, but medallions just aren't doing it for me. The medallion abilities themselves are honestly pretty fun, and I enjoy using them, but here's the problem. Since the only medallions on the map are clumped together in 2 POIs, they really decentivize actually landing anywhere else, which is a shame because I enjoy places like Classy Courts and Restored Reels. But if going to a less preferable place means getting an ability that gives you a massive advantage in every fight on top of a mythic weapon, of course I'm going to choose Grim Gates over Reckless Railway. Now, we've had bosses in the past that have dropped mythic items, dozens of them in fact. The difference here is that the bosses drop a mythic item as well as the medallion. Why should you get that much of an advantage just for landing in one of these spots? If you get to the final zone and you don't have any mythics or medallions, you're basically screwed. Not to mention that if the other player has all 4 of the medallions, they're probably better and more aggressive than you. In the past, Fortnite has had ways to naturally weed out the sweatiest players in the lobby to make it more fair for everybody. Namely, in Chapter 1, all of the best players in the lobby would land at tilted towers, and only 1 or 2 would survive. This leveled the playing field for everybody without the need for skill-based matchmaking at all. Compare that to now, where all the best players in the lobby are given even more of an advantage, to the point where casual players hardly have a chance. For this reason, I think medallions need a huge rework, and here's my idea. Go ahead and keep the boss POIs, except spread them more evenly across the map, so that players can have a more unique experience every game. Think Chapter 2 Season 2. The bosses should only drop their mythic weapon, as well as maybe a vault keycard. Then, later in the game, the 4 medallions will spawn in randomly across the map, maybe on loot islands. This means everybody has an equal chance of obtaining one if they're willing to fight for it, regardless of where they land. This also means that the best players in the lobby can't guarantee the best medallion every game. I think this rework would not only make the game more fair for everybody, but it would make each match much more unique and dynamic. With that out of the way, let's talk collabs. Now, I'm not exactly the target audience when it comes to collabs. I'm not the biggest movie watcher or Star Wars fan. However, I can appreciate when a collab is done well gameplay-wise, and recently they've just been missing the mark. A collab done well should really bring out the best in the source material, while still keeping the gameplay fun and fair. It should also complement the theme of the season so it doesn't feel too out of left field. So let's talk about the collabs this season and where they went wrong. Personally, I enjoyed the Avatar collab a lot, but I can understand people's problem with it. The mythics themselves were actually fun to use, airbending was one of the best movement items in recent memory, and earthbending was super useful in zero builds. Waterbending was... we'll get to that later. Point is, the Avatar collab was great. The problem was the timing and execution. Like I said, a collab should go hand in hand with the theme of this season, but Avatar did the opposite. For 3 weeks, which was a huge chunk of the season, the 3 main items exclusive to the Myths and Mortals season were vaulted, those being the Wings of Icarus, Zeus's Lightning, and the Chain of Hades. Now, I don't particularly love these items, but I understand that they are integral to the theme of this season, which they kind of dropped the ball on. While in most other seasons we were immersed in the theme, this season just kind of felt like last season, but with slightly different guns and medallions. For a collab to be universally loved, it needs to be cohesive with the theme and mix up the game enough to actually feel like an update and not just a promotion. And that's where this year's Star Wars collab really fell off. While last year's Star Wars collab had brand new lightsabers, force abilities, bosses, and NPCs, this year we got 1 lightsaber on the whole map. It would have been so easy just to reintroduce force abilities, but it seems like Battle Royale took a backseat while LEGO Fortnite got to experience the full collab. It just seems like collabs these days are really lacking the magic and uniqueness they used to have in favor of just a quick promotion. If Fortnite really wants to be this massive, multiversal game, they need to make these collabs hold more significance. Now, this last thing is probably what you've all been waiting for, and if you quit Fortnite recently, this is most likely why, and that is the weapons. At its core, Fortnite is a shooter game, and the foundation of any shooter game is its gunplay. and it seems like Fortnite has forgotten that. And this is mostly due to the introduction of projectile guns, in other words, bullet drop. Fortnite has always had unique gunplay because of its hit scan guns. If you were good enough and lined up your shots, you would be able to consistently deal damage, making assault rifles dominate the meta at long range. But with these new guns, you have to lead your shots, account for bullet drop, recoil, and random bloom all at the same time, which makes assault rifles borderline unusable at longer range. You would be a fool not to just use a sniper. Which brings me to my next point and my biggest gripe of Chapter 5 overall. The Reaper Sniper Rifle is the most frustrating, skill-less, and brain-dead weapon in the history of Fortnite. Explain to me why, while almost every other type of gun got nerfed in Chapter 5, we have the most overpowered sniper ever added to the game. And it's not just the fact that it one-shots to the head, because we've had snipers like that before and nobody complained. And that's because it used to be a big deal when you hit a headshot, but now it's just so easy. We've had high damage snipers in the game before, we've had snipers made for quickscopes, we've had silent snipers, we've had semi-auto snipers, and yet this season, after every other long-range gun was nerfed to the ground, they decide to add a sniper that has every single one of these features at the same time. And with a sniper this overpowered, of course everybody in the lobby is going to run it, which makes the problem so much worse. And is there anything more annoying than doing well in a match and having so much fun just to die instantly to a player you never even saw and don't get a chance to fight back? I will genuinely not rest easy until this garbage is out of my sight for good, and I only pray that that day will be in Season 3.
Almost lost my cool there.
Moving on before I pop a blood vessel. There's several other weapons that are just way too overpowered, but luckily they're pretty much guaranteed to be removed next season. The first one is waterbending. In any other season, waterbending would have only been a little bit overpowered, but when every other assault rifle has bullet drop and is basically a pea shooter at long range, it makes sense that a weapon that goes in a straight line with no recoil is overpowered. Not to mention that the fact it fires in bursts means you're almost guaranteed to hit for massive amounts of damage. Oh, and it has infinite ammo. Alright, now let's talk about the shotguns. Honestly, the shotguns haven't been too bad since the auto shotgun was nerfed, which only took 4 months. But I'd personally argue that the Gatekeeper shotgun is still a bit too overpowered. Sure, it has the risk-reward trade-off of high damage but only 3 shots, which can be bypassed with a drum mag by the way. But if you have decent aim, you can basically guarantee a kill if you hit all 3 shots. Now, if you and your opponent are both good players, it all comes down to who starts spraying first, which just ruins the integrity of Fortnite combat at close range. The worst part about having such unbalanced guns is that every game starts to feel exactly the same. You land at the same spot, you grab the same loadout, which is usually just a Gatekeeper shotgun and a sniper, and just pray you don't get sniped in the back of the head. I miss the old days of Fortnite with such a diverse loot pool, when anyone could use any weapon and have a chance to win. Now it feels like if you don't use meta weapons, you have absolutely no chance. Just as an experiment, I tried playing a few games differently than the old rinse and repeat cycle of every other Chapter 5 game. This means I landed at a non-medallion POI and only used non-meta weapons, which is literally anything besides the 3 I mentioned. The first thing that I immediately noticed is that almost no one lands at these places. Besides the 2 or 3 bots that are programmed to land there, nobody else does because it's just not worth it. And since everybody else lands at a medallion POI and dies instantly, it's only about halfway through the game that I even see another real player. The other thing I noticed is that I was actually having fun and enjoying using weapons I would otherwise never touch, to the point that I was genuinely worried that I was proving my point wrong. That was until, like clockwork, I got sniped in the back of the head or sprayed down regardless of how well I was playing. What this proves is that you need to have a balance between the guns that are good and the guns that players want to use. But when you have a few guns that stand out among the rest for half a year, you can't expect players to not get bored. It's fun to be able to reliably use multiple guns instead of the same 3 every single game. So what does all of this mean for Season 3? Well, if things keep going the way they are now, I don't see much hope for the game going forward. I just don't know if I can stay interested if the meta only consists of snipers and auto shotguns for the 3rd season in a row. My only wish for Season 3 loot pool wise is that all the weapons feel fun and are actually viable to use, even if a few are slightly better than others. A great example of this is Chapter 2 Season 7, where although the balance wasn't exactly perfect, every weapon felt different and exciting to use. Fortnite is a battle royale, and like any battle royale, the game should be a fresh and unique experience every single time you play. At the end of the day, it doesn't even matter how they do it. They could change the medallions for the better, like I suggested, Or they could add a completely new mechanic that incentivizes landing at different locations. We just need something, anything to make this game fun again, because I don't know about you, but I really want to enjoy Fortnite right now. With Season 3 being less than a week away, we can only hope that Epic listens to our feedback and turns this chapter around. Now, there are plenty of other reasons to dislike Chapter 5, these are just the few issues that I think are the most glaring, but I'm interested to see what you guys think. What does Fortnite have to do to keep you playing in Season 3? Anyway guys, if you agree with any of the points I made here, go ahead and smash the like, smash subscribe, and I'll see you in Season 3. Peace.